Hey everyone, welcome to part 2 of my trip to the south of Spain as part of my Arts Council DYCP funding, and today we're going to go from Granada to Cordoba. Now, as soon as I got off the train, I headed over to my guided tour of the beautiful patios of the city. There's a competition every year for who has the best patio, and some of these patios have up to 500 plants. This is one of the ways that they could water some of the plants that were higher up because they all had to be hand watered. Historically, patios are also a great way to cool you down, so during the hot summer months they can be up to a 3 to 8 degree difference. This tradition started with the Romans, with usually a fountain in the middle of the patio, and this continued when the Muslims came over with the addition of plants and flowers around the space. The second day of Cordoba was a busy one, and we started with the Royal Alcazar. With its thick defensive walls, the building was served as a palace but also a fortress. Years later, when the palace wasn't fit for purpose anymore, the space was turned into a prison with a male's wing and separate women's wing. Here you can actually see some of the cells and how small they were. However, the prison closed after a couple of years once the government found Roman architectural finds in the space. The palace was then restored, and a garden was even added to rival the gardens of the Alhambra. We then walked over to the Jewish quarter and visited a synagogue that was then converted into a church. You can see examples of Islamic patternwork on the interior because the artisan chosen was Muslim. We then visited the very exciting Cordoba Mosque/Cathedral, and this was one of the highlights of my trip. The reason it has two titles is because originally the building was a mosque, but now it functions as a cathedral. My favorite thing was to see the arches in the space and just how symmetrical everything was. The artist who created this beautiful sculpture was commissioned by the church, and it took him 10 years to create the piece. But unfortunately, he died 2 weeks before the artwork was unveiled. There's also examples of different art styles in the building due to how long it took for the artwork to be created. I then decided to go visit the museum and art gallery in Cordoba, which had a combination of traditional and contemporary artwork. There was even a children's exhibition in the space, which was really nice to see. I then finished the night off by going to a flamenco and equestrian show. Not only is the region known for their dancers, but also their beautiful Andalusian horses. Now that is the end of my night, and the last part of my trip will be in Seville.